So my name is Jason Blundell, and we'll be talking about Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombies.
So, Jason, this Zombies experience is one of the most ambitious things you've ever done. Talk us a little bit about what's going on.
Wow, another big question. So Black Ops 3 zombie offering is called Shadows of Evil, and it follows 4 broken characters in the true film noir style, right? They're all broken characters, and when we join their story, they've all committed murders to be able to get ahead in their lives. And then unfortunately that's when the zombies turn up, and then a mysterious man called the Shadow Man turns up and says, follow me, do what I say, and I will lead you to redemption. And so our characters have to kind of make sense of the world as everything they know falls apart.
So, you guys are not familiar with period pieces, obviously World War II, but now you're going into film noir, 1920s or 30s. Mm-hmm. What went into that decision?
It's we'd actually been there before previously. So we did a DLC called Mob of the Dead, where we did Alcatraz, and we had Hollywood cast in that one. But even though it seems kind of strange when people say, well, you've gone to 2065 for the campaign and for multiplayer, where's this film noir stuff coming from? It actually fits into our overall zombie narrative that we've been going since World at War and all our DLCs. And it all ties together. And I can't give more details than that, but it actually sits in this kind of progressive narrative that we're doing. And this is the first time we've actually considered both Shadows of Evil and The Giant, which is a bonus map. And then all DLCs, we've actually planned it out from the very beginning as one big narrative structure, which for our zombie fans, we're picking up several threads that we'd left kind of out in the wind a little bit. We're kind of bringing them all together, and we're going to bring them to a certain point in time, is the best way I could say it.
So you guys have a full cast of AAA actors on this project. Go through their characters and who they play.
Sure. So we have Jeff Goldblum. He plays Nero. He is a particularly crap magician. He's a terrible magician, and his wife has been running up bills, and so he deals with her on the wheel of death and kind of gets her out of the picture. We then have the amazing Ron Perlman. He plays Floyd Campbell, who's a boxer. He's a failed boxer. Can't kind of get his big break. So he starts to cheat. He puts knuckle dusters on before going into the boxing round and kills the opponent while he's fighting them. We have Heather Graham. Heather Graham is awesome. She plays the burlesque dancer, and she wants to be in moving pictures, right? She wants to be in the movies, but she can't kind of get her break. And there's a journalist who has compromising photos of her. So she lures him back to the burlesque place and kills him. So sorry about that for journalists. Doesn't work out well for you guys. And then we have Neil McDonough, and he plays Jack Vincent, who's like a bent, corrupt cop who takes bribes. And there's a snitch who basically has info on him, and he's kind of fleecing him for money. So he takes him down an alley and shoots him. And then we have the Shadow Man, and that is played by Robert Picardo. And Robert Picardo is actually a true friend of Black Ops. He's actually been in every single Black Ops. He's our lucky actor we take along every single time. And he plays the Shadow Man. And he starts off by saying, I'm going to take the characters and help you in redemption. But some of his motives might not be so clear from the very beginning of the story.
What's it been like seeing the Call of Duty Zombies experience evolve since World at War, where you were in one building just fitting up windows, to now you're transgressing between an entire city?
It's overwhelming at times, really. It's just great to kind of see it all kind of growing and kind of evolving. And as Treyarch, we've grown to kind of meet the kind of size of the project. So as our projects have become more and more expansive, and more kind of coordinated and integrated with each other, as a studio, we've also done the same thing.
Now, will this zombies mode work in Black Ops 3? Will it be power-ups and then you move through the level, or do you barricade yourself somewhere and try to survive?
There's different strategies. It would be unfair of me to say how I do it, but there are different ways. I mean, we have a new mechanic now for the first time, which is gobblegum, this kind of bubblegum type system that you can use. And as we got a progression system in campaign, as you go through, you'll get more gum, which means you can load it into a pack. And then when you go into level, you can retrieve different bubblegums, and they'll give you special abilities. So there's a way you can actually work as a team or as an individual to play to your strategy of how you want to survive. Because you've got to remember, in zombies, my job is to kill you. You're not going to survive, I'm going to get you. And you've got to do the best you can to try and live as long as you can.
What has next-gen console hardware opened up for you, as far as having more zombies on screen, higher textures?
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, there's so many things that go way beyond this interview, but I'll say we have a deferred renderer now for the first time, which basically means that before I'd only have one light source as a shadow caster or a primary light on a surface. Now I can have hundreds. I now have greater fidelity in terms of the AI itself. So that means I can have more AI, I have more complex AI. All these kind of things, and then systems. We have the most systemic game we've ever created. In other words, everything's based on these kind of very solid and rigid setups. That means I can kind of move it and manipulate it how I wish. So current gen consoles really give you a strength and power that allows you to kind of dial in, especially in the horror genre. I mean, just taking lighting for an example. Lighting's like 70% of your work in a horror game, right? It's about the use of light or the removal of light or the interplay of light. Per particle lighting, having a light source where I've got smoke billowing through and then it being illuminated by that light source. That all kind of just has a certain vibe, and I'm sure if you think about the kind of classic 1940s, 30s movies, it was always about the steam or the smoke wafting by the light source, be it the kind of street light or whatever, and it really just kind of gets you into that world and lets you kind of forget about everything else that's going on.
And what have you learned from past zombie modes that you're applying to Black Ops 3 zombies?
Definitely a consideration, which would be a spatial consideration. Some of our earlier maps we explored with verticality. We got some wins out of there. Some of the ones we were just learnings. That whole stuff has been applied into Shadows of Evil because it's one of the largest maps we've ever made and one of the most vertical maps we've ever made. But taking our learnings from our wider maps and some of our more vertical maps allowed us to refine it down so that we could get the best of those properties while avoiding some of the trappings from when you start introducing those kind of ideas.
So what led you to film noir over all the other genres and time periods you could have done?
First of all, it's a really interesting time period, right? So it automatically does a certain amount of work for you because as soon as you start talking about film noir and certain archetypes in there, people already start filling in the information. We've all seen those films or experienced that feeling. So that gives you an automatic leg up. Second thing is that it's in line with our narrative, so it made sense to kind of go back there. The other one, which is a little bit of a funny one, I suppose, but we built the world with an Art Deco and an Art Nouveau architectural style. And that's both classed as the masculine and feminine architectural styles, which is a bit nod back to my campaign where it's the first time we've introduced male and female player characters. So I like the idea of a crossover between, that's why when you look at Morgue City, you'll say, it's a city I know, but kind of a city I don't recognize. It's because it's the combining of those two architectural styles in one space. So it was a blend of things. It also allowed us to get our composer, Jack Wall's a fantastic composer, let him loose on like 1920s, 30s swing and jazz pieces. So we had all this military kind of moving music, and then we let him with the jazz band, and he did all our perks machines, and he did all our custom music, and it's all bespoke written pieces of music throughout Shadows of Evil. So it just kind of brings you into that world. It's amazing how even people who aren't really familiar with the film noir style, just how quickly it just kind of envelops you and takes you into a certain time period.